Hello dear students, I welcome you all in this video. I hope you all are fine. So in this video, we are going to study one of the important prose from your syllabus. The name of the prose is The Bet, written by Anton Chekhov. So let us see the introduction of the author. Anton Pavlovich Chekhov was the full name of the author. He born in 1860 and died in 1904. He was a brilliant short story writer. He was from Russia. He wrote specially about human loneliness and frustration of human life. He shows a sense of sympathy towards the characters and tries his best to present the human life where people constantly face minor turmoils. His work has been widely translated in many languages, but he has immensely preferred English literature. He has written number of plays and short stories. Out of them, The Bet, The Duel, The Lady with the Dog, An Anonymous Story, The Black Monk, and The Darling are some of his well-known short stories. The Bet is a story that shows the deep agony of a man who is faced with a conflict in life between what is profitable in terms of self-improvement and what is profitable in terms of monetary gain. Checo uses the situation to present the idea that imprisonment does not necessarily deprive a person of his freedom. So, let us focus on the characters in the story. There are two major characters. One of them is a banker and another one is a lawyer. So banker is a rich man and he never cares about money. He always spends money on different part in his life. And another character, he is a lawyer. He is young. He is about 25 years of age. He is devoted to his destination. So there is a bet in this story. We must have seen different types of bets in our life, but there is a bet of being in solitary confinement for about 5 years and get $2 million. It is a bet. The bet is a story of two people, generally banker and a lawyer. The banker was so rich, as we have seen earlier. The story further deals with the sufferings of the lawyer in the imprisonment. Meanwhile, the banker decided to murder the lawyer to avoid the great losses of giving $2 million to him. The lawyer read nearly 600 books on different subjects. He learned 6 languages also in the prison. So the lawyer wrote a note to the banker to thank him. He wrote that he was not interested in 2 millions. His books had given him wisdom which was much more valuable than anything in the world. So it is quite different to go line by line. So we will concisely, briefly discuss about the plot of the story. So let us begin. There is a dark autumn night and the old banker walking up and down his study, he remembered his party that he had given 15 years ago. So he recollects his memory of a party where there were journalists and different types of people. The discussion among them was a very interesting topic. The debate was whether death sentence was more moral than life imprisonment or otherwise. Most of them were of the opinion that death sentence was outdated and immoral from the Christian point of view. So, it should be replaced by life imprisonment. The banker did not agree with them. He said that death penalty was more moral and kind-hearted between the two. Death penalty kills a man at once, while life imprisonment takes life out of his control slowly. One of the guests said that both are immoral. He said that the state has no right to take away what it cannot give back. There was one young lawyer in the party. He was 25 years old. He said that both the forms of punishment are immoral, but if he had to choose between the two, he would prefer life imprisonment. In his opinion, it was better to live anyhow than without living at all. In those days, the banker was young and careless with his money. He was so rich that he did not know how much money he had. In his excitement, he challenged the young lawyer and entered into the bet with him. He said to the lawyer that if he agreed to live in solitary confinement for the next 5 years, he would give him $2 million. The lawyer accepted the challenge and said that he was ready to live in imprisonment even for 15 years instead of 5 years. At last, the bet was carried out. The terms and conditions of the bet were also drawn. Now, as the banker walked into the room, he felt that all this was human. It was nothing but recklessness on his own part and greed for money on the part of the young lawyer. So let us proceed. According to the conditions of the agreement, the lawyer was supposed to spend his years of captivity in strict loneliness in a lodge in the banker's garden. For 15 years, he would never come out of this lodging, nor would he see human face. However, allowed to have a musical instrument and books, to drink wine and to smoke, and to write letters. His communication with the outer world would be through a little window. If he wanted anything, he would pass a slip of paper with his demand through it, and it would be supplied to him. The imprisonment started with the demand through it, and it would be supplied to him. The imprisonment started from 12 o'clock of that day till the 15 years ahead. During the first year of the prisoner suffered from loneliness and depression. He played on the piano day and night. He avoided wine and tobacco. He read books of light nature such as novels, love stories, and so on. In the second year, the piano was silent. He asked for classics to read. In the fifth year, the music could be heard again. He asked for wine. He ate and drank, lay on his bed, talked to himself, and slept. He would write something and tear up the papers. Sometimes he was heard crying. So, such a way, he spent his 5 years of imprisonment. During the sixth year, he vigorously studied language, philosophy, and history. During the next 5 years, he read nearly 600 books on different subjects and learned six languages. He wrote a note to the banker to thank him for the happiness and joy he had got. After the 10th year, the prisoner sat without moving, as if in the deep meditation. He read nothing but the Bible. Then he read histories of religions and the holy books. He spent his last 2 years in reading books on literature, natural sciences, chemistry, medicine, philosophy, and theology. It was a mixed type of reading. Now, the banker thought that the next night the prisoner would be released from the jail and would demand the speculation. Now he had become a man of ordinary fortune. If he paid 2 million to the lawyer, he would become bankrupt. It would be shameful for him. The only way to avoid his situation was the death of the prisoner. At night, it was raining heavily, and the stormy winds roared all around. It was all dark. The old banker finally made up. his mind, he took the key of the lock and quietly went to the lodge in the garden. The guard was fast asleep. He opened the rusted the lock. It made a creaking sound. When the banker entered the room, the prisoner was sitting at the table and the candle was dimly burning. There was no movement on the part of the prisoner. He was reduced to a skeleton. His hair had grown like that of a woman and was rolling down his back. His beard, his beard had also grown. His face was yellow and his cheeks had become hollow. He had become very thin. It was difficult to believe that he was hardly 40 years old. The banker thought to himself that he murdered this man by pressing a pillow against his throat. No one would even suspect him of such death. But suddenly his eyes fell on the piece of paper with something written on it, lying on the table. Out of curiosity, he picked up the paper and started reading it. The prisoner had written on the paper that he had gone through all experiences of life. In his imagination, he had traveled all over the earth. The knowledge he had gained that made him believe that all pleasures and wealth and fame are worthless things. His books had given him wisdom which was much more valuable than anything in the world. Therefore, he was no more interested in the 2 million. He was going away himself 5 hours before he fixed time. In his opinion, man has taken the wrong path. On reading this letter, the banker was full of hatred for his own self. He started weeping. He has lost the bet, though his $2 million were saved. In the morning, the watchman came with pale faces, and the prisoner had escaped from his confinement. So, this is the outline of the story. There are some questions of the comprehension. By answering these questions or by thinking on these questions, you will come to know the plot and the outline of the story as well. So the first question is, was what was the nature of the bet between the banker and the lawyer? So you will have to write the details about the bet between the banker and the lawyer. Second one, how did the lawyer pass the period of 15 years in the life imprisonment? Third question, describe the lawyer's appearance when the banker goes to see him. Fourth one, summarize the content of the letter the prisoner had written. And the fifth question, describe the philosophy of life depicted in the story. So, this is the story. If you have any doubts or queries, write to me in the comment box. Thank you so much. See you once again in new topic.